What maps do we use when we break the light barrier? Okay, that is a question for number 121 on the list of the 144 fractal faculties of the Tree of Life. If you'd like to get a complete listing of all 144 fractal faculties, just leave your name and email in the comment section. I'll send that out to you for free. It's just kind of like a couple sentences on each one of the fractals. And it's useful because you can kind of have all of them right in front of you at the same time. And then you can cross-reference and refer back and compare and contrast and so on. It'll help you to be able to follow along on these videos. Also helpful would be the video that I did called Tree of Life, an Introduction. I think that's only on YouTube, but it's about 10 minutes. And so that's a quick way to get yourself up to speed. If you'd like a slightly slower way, but more thorough, you can send me $10 by Cash App or Venmo, and I will send you a copy of my book called the MASSTree, Introduction to the Tree of Life. It's called Reclaiming the Kabbalah from the Cabal. And that is, I think, about 65 pages. So, it'll take you a few hours to read it, but that will really catch you up so that you're thoroughly prepared to listen to all of these videos. Now, we're looking at number 121 on the list of the 144 fractal faculties. Now, just recall the Tree of Life itself is mainly, for these purposes at least, is a map of our consciousness. Each one of the circles or spheres on the tree is an aspect of our consciousness. There are 12 of these, numbered 10 through 0. Along with the abyss right here. So a total of 12 different faculties of consciousness. And so while we're talking number 121, we are talking about the first sphere. We have just broken into the first sphere. Okay, so what is the faculty of the first sphere? Well, the first sphere is one of our three divine faculties, 3, 2, and 1. 3 is omnipotence, all-powerful. 2 is omniscience, or all-knowing. And 1 is omnipresent, or all-present everywhere at once, eternally. So this is all-present. It's always there. Really, you can think of it as like it's at the center of everything. And it is everything, the all. And it has to do with what I would call the first ether. Okay, the ether is something that underlies everything. So this first sphere is really, it's underlying everything. Like if you kind of break through the appearances, which is the last fractal, 120, you break through the appearances, and then you see that there's this underlying substratum. And that is the first sphere. It's underneath everything, and it's our deepest center, our higher self. And it is the whole universe. It is everything in the universe. It is represented here on the tree as geometry. We talked about this yesterday with the quadrivium, the ancient Roman scholastic quadrivium, and where the third sphere has to do with music and sacred music. Second sphere has to do with astronomy and astrology. The first sphere has to do with geometry and sacred geometry. And then the 0 sphere has to do with numbers and numerology, or arithmetic and numerology. So we're talking about a geometry, a geometrical substratum. So kind of if you look at the atoms and molecules, each one of them has a different, geometrical structure. So there's this geometrical kind of matrix that underlies all the reality. And that's kind of like a first sphere thing. Okay, now the first sphere is one of our 12 faculties of consciousness. But here we're talking about 144 fractal faculties. So how do we get from one to the other? Well, we take the whole tree, we take all 12 aspects of the tree, and we take the whole tree itself, and we shrink it down to the size of just one sphere. So we apply or superimpose a small tree on each one of the spheres, thereby breaking down each one of the spheres into its 12 aspects. So here on the fourth sphere, within the fourth sphere, there's a mini 10th sphere and a mini 9th sphere and a mini 8th sphere and a mini 7th sphere and so on. So the fourth sphere has its 12 sub or fractal faculties. The fifth sphere has its 12 or sub-fractal faculties, and so on. And the first sphere also has its 12 sub or fractal faculties. And for number 121, we are talking about the 10th fractal within the first sphere. So the 10th fractal within the first sphere. And this 10th fractal, the 10th sphere, has to do with survival and instinct, has to do with our life force. It has to do with, the law of the jungle, kill or be killed. And to be able to, survive, it's kind of like an unconscious consciousness of our survival, being able to survive, and it also entails our life force, our jing, which is the most basic form of qi, if I have that understood correctly. And so we're kind of superimposing this on the first sphere, this everything matrix. And so we're trying to kind of combine those two different aspects into this number 121, which is called metric geometry. Stage number 121 is about the geometry we see with only one eye open. No depth perception. One can judge only comparative size, but not absolute size. We do not see in time, but we can see time's equivalent effect in space, since they are reciprocals of each other. Metric geometry has 7 to 9 degrees of freedom, 3 in space, or the XYZ coordinates, and 3 in time, or the IJK imaginary components or coordinates, and 1 to 3 degrees of freedom in scale. In the cascade of creation, metric geometry comes from topology, projective geometry, and affine geometry. And then from metric geometry it goes to Euclidean geometry. And those are in reverse when you're talking about evolution. Creation cascades or transforms from projective to affine to metric to Euclidean geometry, from the general to the specific, from the free to the restrictive. And you can also think of this as the projective, astral, etheric, and then material, or subjective, astral, etheric, and material. We can be effortlessly released from the lower part of being, the Euclidean, by focusing the consciousness on the rise and fall of the abdomen, the lower dantian, an inch or so below the navel. In metric geometry, the absolute conic, if you think of the field of vision, we will never be able to observe what is inside an atom, because all we can observe is that shadow cast upon the screen of equivalent space, which is a net motion, but not the actual motion. Metric or etheric body or etheric plane to be the difference between inanimate and biological realms. The ability to replicate instead of just to aggregate. But there is another way to look at it, the metric plane as opposed to the Euclidean is the removal of a barrier. But you can't tell how far away or how big, only the scale comparison, as if only one eye open. Is that the third eye? Can be any size. So in metric geometry, it is precise, untriangulated. 3 degrees of freedom to define rotation, 3 degrees of freedom to define translation. The rotation is IKJ, or IJK, and the 3 to define translation are X, Y, and Z, and then 1 for scale, or it could be 3 for scale if you apply scale independently to each one of the dimensions. So 7 to 9 degrees of freedom total. And that's what we have here for the metric geometry, the 10th fractal of the first sphere on the tree of life. We'll get into this more when we get to the unit on sacred geometry. And even when we talk about the reciprocal system, we'll also get into this. A lot of this is coming from Dr. Bruce Perret, one of the people who revamped the reciprocal system after the death of Dewey B. Larson. But nowadays, Bruce Perret has also passed away. So we're just trying to keep all of this afloat and hopefully move it forward as time goes on. Okay, so thanks for tuning in to the video today. Again, if you'd like that free copy of the 144 Fractal Faculties of the Tree of Life, you can just put your name and email in the description, and I'll send that out to you for free. Hopefully I'll see it when it comes up. If not, you might want to put it into the most recent, like if you're watching this video 6 months from the time that I did it, you might want to fast forward and put it into my most recent videos. That way I'll have a better chance of seeing it. Anyway, if you'd like to get my book, The MASSTree, for $10, just send me Cash App or Venmo for that amount and put that into the memo, and I'll send that out to you. Also, stay tuned for future videos coming up on this channel. Number 122 will be coming up by tomorrow, and other subjects are being prepared. So stay tuned. Have a great day, and we hope to see you very soon.